Okay, everyone, it's time to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race episode 4 from season 8. That was last night, and I have to say that it was an interesting episode for several reasons. Um, First of all, there wasn't a mini challenge, and I know sometimes there isn't, but I always kind of miss it when there's not a mini challenge. I also miss the fact that these episodes are not an hour and a half like the first two. Boy, you get so much more in that half hour. But they quickly split into three groups for these music live singing group challenge. Now I noticed right off the bat that the group that was with Bob, Bob the drag queen, obviously, which was the New York group, Acid Betty, Thorgy, and Bob, very loud and a little on the manipulative side. They were trying to psych out the other group that hadn't picked their music, and they pretty much succeeded and got what they wanted. And that group was the one with Chi Chi and the other two, Naisha and Derek, which was sort of the leftovers when they chose among themselves for their teams. Now, it was pretty obvious that Chi Chi wasn't very happy about that, and she was acting kind of strange. Now, she went into the shade tree. Yeah, the shade tree. I had to look down to see if that's what the name was because it's hardly been used since they announced it. I think that's only the second one we've seen in there. But anyway, she went into the shade tree and she was talking about how she felt a little uncomfortable because she can't afford this and that. And I understand that, but I don't understand the lack of team play that was going on with her. If you can, I mean, what does that have to do with being a team player and working with your group, physically being there more, sharing ideas? That has nothing to do with how much fabric you can afford or not. So I thought that was a little weird and not very clear. There must be something that we don't know about that. But also, another thing is, I have to say that Bob the drag queen in this episode was really kind of annoying me and not coming across well at all. And I'm not just talking about the part with Lucian, that was an added part. But just when he was dealing with this one and that one, and he's loud all the time, so it's getting a little annoying to me. I think he's got a lot of talent, but that doesn't mean he can't be annoying. Ask Acid Betty. So anyway, when they got to the part where they were rehearsing with Lucian Piani in the area he was using, so you had Team One, which was the Chi Chi, Naisha, and Derek. Derek sounded kind of bad, I thought, and he was thinking he sounded good, I believe, and he didn't sound good. And the others were just kind of there. They didn't seem to be doing much. So the song sounded kind of sad. The second team, by the way, was Kimchi, Robbie, and Naomi. What can I say? There just wasn't much there at the very beginning when they were practicing. You couldn't tell what was to come later at all. It was a fun song. And once they got to the actual performance, oh my God, they were so good, so energetic, very fun. I mean, it was just RuPaul and Michelle and the others were really getting into it, laughing a lot, and I can see why they won. I mean, the minute I saw that and I saw the other two, I was like, wow, this is a clear winner right here. And of course they did, and Robbie ended up winning the whole thing, and rightfully so because I think he was the strongest member of that team. Kimchi did really well too. Now Naomi was just kind of there for the ride. I mean, I'm just not a fan of hers. Yes, she looks nice or pretty, but not a fan. Um, at least so far. That could change. Speaking of which, I just want to take a pause for a minute and mention that I wanted to update my ratings from the first impressions till now. So I did that on my sheet of paper. Now let's just go through this quickly for the queens that are still in the competition. So Acid Betty, I had originally rated just from that video a 7.5. I've moved her up to a 9.0 because I really do like her. I like her drag, and she's got a lot of talent. Bob the Drag Queen, I had rated 8.5, and I'm leaving it at 8.5, which is a pretty good rating. But she really hasn't gone up in my estimation. Chi Chi Devane, I wasn't impressed at all during the Meet the Queens, and I have been impressed with Chi Chi for the most part until this episode, not so much. But I moved Chi Chi up to an 8 from a 6.5. Derek Barry. I had high hopes for Derek and had rated him an 8.5, but I've moved him down to 7.5. Not as high a hopes. And actually, I think he'll be one of the next to go if I had to guess. Let's see. Kimchi, wasn't so sure in the beginning, so I had rated her 7.5. She's now a 9.0 because she has a lot of potential, and I can see her talent and see, obviously, several episodes worth. Naomi Smalls, again, not that impressed, but I was more impressed in the video. So I had given her an 8.5. I moved her down to a 7.0. Not impressed. Let's see. Robbie Turner, I've left at an 8.0. I still think he's right there. And, there have been some episodes this first four where he was good, but not great. Some where he didn't do well, and now one where he did really well. So, sort of mixed. And last but certainly not least, Thorgy Thor. I had rated Thorgy a 7.5 because I wasn't impressed with that. But boy, have I been impressed. Probably Thorgy is the most improved from the first impressions videos to now. I'm very impressed with Thorgy. And I think she definitely has the potential to make top 3 and maybe Miss Congeniality. We'll see. Now, back to the challenge. I was about to start Team 3, but I didn't want to forget that re-rating those queens. So, Team 3 was the New York queens, Bob, Thorgy, and Betty. They, in the rehearsal, I thought sounded the best. But Bob was very argumentative, as we saw, both with Thorgy earlier, and then he said, due to Thorgy agitating me, I was, got into it with Lucian, but that's basically an excuse. Thorgy was great in this challenge. I didn't like Bob's look. Betty, what's the deal with the pink wig that she's now used several times? I was like, did she not bring enough wigs? Um, I thought the costumes were really good in this one for this team in the challenge itself, and I thought they did well. But they didn't do as well as that second team, who, like I said, won the challenge. For the runway, they were mixed. Let's see, Derek, I was like, Naisha, I thought did pretty well. Chi Chi, I always liked Chi Chi's runway look so far, so I gave her a 5 for that. Kimchi, I'm not sure. Middle of the road. Robbie, great look, a 5. Naomi, not impressed, a 3. Betty, I gave her a 4. And then Thorgy a 3. This was one of my least favorite looks for Thorgy. It just wasn't fun. And it wasn't very good. And then Bob, I didn't like it. I gave Bob a 2, which was the least rating for the runway. So, I liked Chi-Chi, excuse me, and Robbie the best from the runway. And Bob and Thorgy and Naomi and Derek were my lowest, with Bob unfortunately being the lowest. And that's just the look. I don't mean to say that Bob was the lowest total, not at all. My bottom 2, speaking of which, would have been Derek, Barry, and Chi-Chi. I just felt like Chi-Chi really did poorly in this challenge, altogether, although she looked good at the runway, like I said. And Derek's really struggled as well. Although, at least she got away from the look, that whole Britney look. She really did look different. I thought the most different maybe all season so far. The redhead wig that she had on was different, no doubt about that, but still had that Britney look. The actual bottom 2, as you well saw, was Naisha and Chi-Chi, so I got one of those right. The song they did was a Blondie song, since Blondie was there to judge, and it was Call Me. and not the Carly Rae Jepsen song, the Blondie song. And I'm not the biggest fan of that song, but the minute I knew or heard that it was that song, I felt, uh-oh, Naisha's going home again. Because I just couldn't see her doing that as well as Chi Chi could. And sure enough, when they did the song, Chi Chi did better. And so again, I had to agree with RuPaul to send Naisha home, which I just hate because I really like her. I think she's such a strong queen, but I guess she's just not strong in this competition. She is more of a pageant queen and didn't get to show the right things at the right times, or she just can't in these particular challenges. So both times Naisha had to lip sync, she did okay. She did fine. But the other girl outshined her, and she just didn't seem as comfortable. So it was no surprise when Naisha went home, which I hate to see, though. Next week, by the way, is Snatch Game, so I'm really looking forward to that and seeing who everyone does. We do know already that Thorgy does Michael Jackson, and that Acid Betty, who was sitting next to her, does Nancy Grace. So I would have never guessed Acid Betty would have done that one among all the choices, but we'll see what she does with it. I'm assuming that Derek Barry will do Britney Spears, and I think he should, just like Chad Michaels did Cher in his season, because that's what you're best known for. That's what I would do, because if you don't, that's probably what they're going to say. Why didn't you do what you're best known for, and do it damn well? Well, the other thing is, what if he screws it up? But I just think he needs to do that. And it'd be funny if they put him right in that spot where Chad was there at the end on the first row on the right. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens. I've also heard a rumor that Acid Betty gets kicked off next week due to touching someone like a slap or a hit. I don't know. Of course, I do not know that. I kind of hope it's not true because I'd like to see Acid Betty go further in this competition because she's such a strong queen. But if so, we'll see. I mean, supposedly somebody said it's Bob, the drag queen. Now, if Acid Betty hits Bob, I just can't imagine Bob standing there taking it. Of course, he knows if he hits back, he'll go home too. So maybe that's why. But anyway, that's all conjecture. Let's worry about that next week. I hope you enjoyed this week's show and my review of RuPaul's Drag Race. And I'll talk to you next time.